I'm here with Charles Cheevers, CTO, Customer Premises Solutions at ARRIS. Charles, can you tell me a little bit about what you think cable operators are prioritizing as they look at investing in technology currently?
Sure, Stuart. I think the home is the key priority. I mean, it's all about managing subscriber experience and creating that subscriber value proposition for subscribers. So I think they're looking at putting in platforms that will take them through the next couple of years, particularly with the other threats from over-the-top services and other, the telco company threats. So we're seeing a lot of investment in platforms for the home, new gateway and set-top platforms, new user experiences, and of course then in the network, then the power to drive those experiences with the inclusion of new, higher speeds and DOCSIS devices like the new CCAP standard that's emerging later this month. It's currently underway and we're already seeing first deployments of it.
Now you mentioned there the gateway concept, and obviously you've developed your own gateway product. Can you tell me a little bit about that and the different shades of that product and how that meets different customer requirements?
Sure. The gateway has evolved from the initial EMTA plus Wi-Fi gateway, which would be primarily for data and voice services, and particularly using the Wi-Fi connection. So the next iteration of that was what we'd probably term a media gateway, where video went into that device, and the device is typically used to terminate all media content, including video, and then translate that into an IP service in the home. So the current gateways take the linear channels, for example, take the conditional access from those and send them over the home in an IP manner, usually protected with DTCP/IP. And they also offer a platform then for further services like DVR for the home. We offer DECT in one of our gateway platforms, so you don't need that cordless base station anymore. And we also now are adding other home networking physical layers like MoCA for those customers that want to use the existing F connector outlets, as well as then Zigbee for home control, home automation and other services served by Zigbee sensors. And so it's offering a platform to the home for multiple services. Now we have two flavors of middleware that run, actually three I guess, when we include the NDS middleware that we've just ported to as well. But we support the whole home solution, which is ARRIS's full end-to-end solution. And then recently we added the support for the RDK solution, which we have both on the gateway and the IP set-top box then. So a termination point for all RF services to the home, making an all-IP network in the home then over multiple physical home networks.
Obviously a multimedia gateway is quite a significant investment for cable operators, and I guess there's a discussion at the moment about how much you can do in the cloud versus how much you need to invest in hardware in the home. What's your view of how that will evolve going forwards?
Yeah, that's a key question. I think certainly the business case for multiple TV endpoints is definitely much better with the single point gateway. You don't have to share the storage, for example. You can leverage the tuners for all the devices in the home. So where there's more than one TV outlet in the home, certainly the gateway makes huge sense. One of the design goals for the gateway is to make it really future-proofed. It's often a term used but rarely followed. But we are building this device in an era when the cloud ability is actually starting to increase a lot more on the cable network, particularly around the higher and higher bandwidth speeds. Before, when we had a single 50 megabit channel, that wasn't really a fast connection to the cloud. Now with gigabit speeds, we can actually bring in a lot more cloud resources. So, in theory, the scope is there. If the gateway doesn't have the compute power, storage power to do something, you can go to the cloud and use network time to do it instead, right? And I think we see a lot more of that. NDVR is probably the network DVR is probably the most classic example of that. So I think the cloud services and bringing the cloud in is enabled by the higher speed networks that we're connecting between the network side and the gateway side. And then the gateway has the ability then to be able to terminate those cloud services and turn them into something that makes a difference in the home. Another good example, I guess, is the evolution of HTML5 user interfaces, where we want a single design for multiple end devices. Well, again, those apps have to be downloaded and downloaded fast, so the cloud remote user interface experience of HTML5 again becomes a reality with fast networks downloading these applications to devices, firing them up within 1 second user time or whatever the correct time for being able to enable that service is.
You mentioned also earlier the CCAP platform, and you're investing in that as well. Can you tell me a little bit about what that will bring to the cable industry and what your own roadmap is for that
Sure.
product?
There's, I mean, CCAP can be defined in a number of ways, but we see it as being first and foremost and most critically to enable the operator to grow the broadband connection, which is constantly growing from probably 8 to 16 channels in Europe this year to 24, 32 in the next year to 2 years. So we're giving a platform to be able to do that easily on a single F connector, because these devices, our device, the E6000, certainly supports being able to put all these services on one F connector rather than combining across two F connectors. We see a future growth in that platform to be able to combine in some of the QAM growth that's still there. Europe is still growing in QAMs as VOD comes to more and more countries and users get used to being able to do more VOD in Europe. And so we see in probably a year or two's time frame the need for operators then to be able to move their VOD QAMs into the CCAP space. So we put Edge QAM second after the DOCSIS introduction. And I think we also see, actually today at the conference, there was some discussions about Europe having more flexible requirements for DOCSIS in certain parts of the network and more VOD in other parts of the network as people use more broadband in certain areas and more VOD in other areas. So the platform offers the flexibility to do that without having two separate chassis that, you know, a lot of the capacity may lie idle. So expect to see a lot more of that shared capacity between, and especially for the transition from pure DOCSIS data to, you know, more VOD unicast to more IP video, and all that taking place on a single CCAP device with one single investment from the operator.